I'm Jack Rickard with EVTV. This is my compadre and consiglio or El Breno Noto.
Hey, it's good to be here.
It's not even Friday, but we've gotten all discombobulated.
We don't know what day it is.
We have a special guest this week.
We do.
Lee Moorehead, is it?
That's correct.
From Denton, Texas. It's kind of a little piss town north of Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they call it Little D or something.
Little D? How big is Denton?
You know, I'm not really sure. I think it's about 20,000, so it's not that small of a town.
It's not that bad.
It's got two good-sized colleges in it, University of North Texas and Texas Women's. Both there is their main, what the town's pretty much about.
I had a friend of mine from some 40 years stopped by the house this weekend for a plate, and we shared a meal. He brought an empty bottle and asked me to maybe top it off from the barrel larder.
He knows you.
I did so, but I kind of took it as an opportunity to take a tot myself.
Check up on it.
Whiskey in the garage is drinking pretty good.
Is it?
For this time of year.
Okay.
So the reason I was a little bit late today and a little behind schedule was I had to compare a couple of them. You know, quality control.
Quality control, that's right.
So you tell me you had a head start.
I started about 9:30 this morning. But it was so good, I was taste testing 3 bottles and was doing pretty good when it dawned on me they were all out of the same barrel anyway, so
Not the bottle flavor.
anyway,
It's looking good.
I thought I'd bring some in. It's been in the barrel about 4 years. This is taking on quite a color. You know, I think most of the flavor in real whiskey, it comes from the barrel. And
Get this one here. I'm not a big drinker, so.
is that right?
Yep.
Methodist, do you pray for me?
And it's got kind of a reddish brown color. I
It
kind of
really
like that.
does.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Clear.
See what you think, then I'll tell you what it is. Any of you connoisseurs want to make a bet?
Count me out on the connoisseur part, but it warms you up.
Is that the brandy?
It's not. But that's a good guess on account I make some. This is some of the earliest stuff I made. This is the barrel with the brass spigot in it.
Oh, that's a little tiny barrel.
It's a small barrel, 8 gallons or 6 gallons.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a small barrel. Wow.
And what I started with was what I finished with making wine was actually mead. This is the King's mead now. I decided if I made mead this time, I didn't want to do it halfway, and I started distilling it. I think I'm the only one to ever distill mead. But it's honey wine with a lot of spices in it. Ginger, peppers, tea, various things, and honey made into wine, which is a long and kind of complicated process compared to regular wine or beer. It takes 30 days anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And then I distill that one batch at a time and put it in that barrel. I have not visited it in some time. It's actually quite good.
Yeah, it is. It's a beautiful color. Yeah,
You've
nice
been
nose. Very
involved in a project. I'm very glad you've come take it out of my garage and take it away from me.
Have to come up with something else now.
nice. Yeah, exactly.
We'll have to do something else. But I am tired of looking at this one. What caused you to buy this thing?
I was looking out on EV Album and at electric cars. Been wanting to do one for quite a while, and this one Bill had listed out on the classifieds out in Oregon, and it caught my eye, so I figured I would try to get it. and negotiated with Bill, and we got it shipped to the house, and it just happened to coincide with EVCon there. And you kind of walked through a door and offered to do the conversion for me, so I took you up on it.
And then that's how it ended up.
And here we are. Here we are.
I've always wondered about that.
I was wanting to load it up with 200 amp hour sinopolys, and we'd talked back and forth about that, and how many to put in it, and you know what motor we were going to go with, and it kind of ended up in your lap, and I just kind of let you go and do what you thought best, and I think we're at a good spot.
I think we are. It's been kind of a road. The presumption originally was this was an electric car. It needed a little work.
Yeah.
We've done a full conversion on a car that was already converted.
Right.
I've never heard of that.
And almost all the mechanicals. I hope the transmission's good. We didn't take that apart.
So
we have not really checked the transmission.
It did spin with no load
We
on it.
spun the wheels.
Didn't make any crazy noises, so should be okay.
Yeah, the clutch, the brakes, the tires, the everything.
Slave cylinder and the master cylinder for the clutch. Yeah.
The motor was locked up. The had a Curtis 1231 in it.
It's over there on the floor.
A Charger from the 1920s. It may be collectible.
Yeah.
With a huge transformer on the front.
Yes. Yeah, it did. That was something, a relic.
So it was a relic. The upgrade we expected, and the normal one that you get into, and this is not a bad strategy, is to pick up an existing electric car that somebody's done in lead. After about the second set of batteries, they get tired.
They kind of lose
batteries,
interest, yeah.
And they sell the thing cheap, and the car works fine. And you give it a whole new life by putting some lithiums in it, but that involves a new charger usually.
Charger, yeah.
And so it's a charger and batteries, which is typically $8,000 or $10,000, and then away you go. This one had some problems, but I think you're gonna have a perky little thing. Our first shock was weighing it. It was quite light.
yeah.
The body is actually a little bit heavy. Brian thinks. I have not.
Yeah, Lee got to hold up the body with me today.
So he knows what it was.
Yeah, he knows what it's like.
But the chassis is very light.
Yeah, just a VW pan, yeah.
So I don't know what we're going to come in, but I had targeted about 1,500 pounds. And we put a new high-performance electric vehicle system, AC50 motor, and the Curtis 1238-7601 controller, which is a three-phase AC system with regenerative braking.
Yep. Yep.
And that we kind of like.
In the 650
and this one does
version.
650
Yeah, the
amps.
650 amp version, yeah.
Now this is supposed to be a 108 volt controller, I think.
Yeah,
It'll do up to 130 volts, and it doesn't seem to complain too bad about 126, which is where we've got it. We have 38 China Aviation Lithium Battery Company cells for about 126 volts, I think, maybe 126 and a half.
Yeah.
And that should be under the 130 that this thing apparently trips and starts screaming
And what
and
are we going
yelling
to charge
about.
it to? 130 something?
Oh yeah, 133 volts.
Yeah, let it drop down, yeah.
And it'll drop down to 126. So it's the most battery we put with this rig.
Just won't be able to charge it and go. You'll just have to let it sit there for a little bit.
What do you mean? Yeah,
Well,
you can charge it and go.
If you charge it up to 136, let's say, that's going to be past the.
Oh, it'll drop it.
It'll drop
a
right
few
away?
minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one thing is you don't have a heater. When I've had this issue
do we have
in
a
the past,
load? Yeah, we just pop it on for
where
a few
it gets
minutes.
too high, I just pop on the heater. You don't really have a heater. Your headlights are going to take a while to drain it down, but that would work too. Yeah, you've got, but it shouldn't, if you charge normally overnight, by the time you come out in the morning, it'll be ready to go. But
Right.
if you're actually charging and you unplug it, it might not
Might have a little
wanna
bit of an
go.
issue. Yeah.
It might fault out, and when it does, basically turn on your headlights for 5 minutes, and it should
You'll be good. Yeah.
settle in there. So you should get very good power out of it. I don't expect 1,500 pounds. You're going to need 650 amps for very long.
No.
This thing should jump out from underneath you.
Yeah.
And we spent about as much as a regular conversion on a car that was already an electric car. But you have a new motor, new controller, new DC to DC converter, a new charger, J1772, and we put in a brake transducer for you.
Yeah,
Just brake
that should be
transducer.
nice.
Brian's going to show you where that's at. We keep being told that that'll blow. We've never blown one, but they keep telling us that. This is a lower pressure one, 250.
250.
So if you lose your regenerative braking, that's the culprit, is that transducer. Just put in a 500-pound one.
Yeah.
But I think with this vehicle, the 250 is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So you'll have kind of like power brakes
Yeah.
on the back. And that's actually a nice feeling. We really like it on the Spider and the Speedster. And so regenerative braking hasn't done a whole lot for range for us, but
It makes it more drivable.
it is a nice feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be. I use 23% on the neutral braking. That is when you take your foot off the accelerator. But I'll show you how to adjust that.
All right.
Set that for whatever feels good to you. Brian, we had him set up pretty high for the autocross.
For the autocross, yeah.
So he basically did the autocross with 1 foot.
Yeah, I barely had to use the brakes, yeah.
Wonder if we'll have any issues with that high of the battery pack voltage with that regenerative braking. Does the voltage ever creep back up with that past it,
Not really.
where it sets?
No.
It's entirely a myth. Everyone talks
Yeah.
about this on
Yeah, the
DIY.
15%
I've never
or
seen the
whatever.
voltage above even the starting voltage.
Yeah.
It just takes too much power to move a car and too little
That you can
to
put
slow
back
it down.
in, yeah, yeah.
The ratio of this thing is they're constantly preparing for an event that will never happen. They go on for screen after screen about this, about when you first start. If you backed out of your garage and immediately shot down a 7-mile hill and never did use anything getting out of the garage, just sort of release the brake, in theory it could be a problem.
Yeah.
About 5 miles down the hill.
Yeah.
If you drive a half a block,
You're okay.
you're okay. It just never puts that much out. So you were telling me you were thinking about buying it, and then you finally did. What caused you to go over to the dark side?
Been watching your show probably since the first episode or so, and been wanting to do an electric car and trying to find a good one to start with, and not be too expensive, but have something that was worth keeping once you convert it over. You know, I didn't want to do an old Volkswagen rust bucket or anything like that, and turns out it did.
Well, not anymore.
the pan, as far as the rust and stuff like that, I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I figured a fiberglass car would be a good start. Although it is a VW pan.
And it was kind of rusty.
Yeah, it was kind of rusty.
Brian, we have a saying here, EVTV, paint it black and it'll disappear.
It'll disappear, yeah.
So
Could really find it.
it looked like it was a one of a kind, and after seeing the article on the Kit Car magazine and the write-up that Bill had done on it, I said, that'd be kind of cool to have. I've got a 21-year-old daughter that she's probably going to be the one that's driving it most of the time, so I think it'll fit her quite well and have a lot of fun with it. Realizing it's not going to be an all-weather car. It's definitely a
Well,
fair
good.
weather.
I'm glad you're on board with that. This, I don't even consider this a car. It's kind of like a dune buggy, a sand rail or something. But they can be a lot of fun. And this is electric. It'll be quiet, and it's really going to be perky. I think this will be... the problem is it's going to attract for her a lot of gentlemen friends. so it may be the last time you have any beer around your house.
If we don't get the seats figured out, they'll have to be short ones, I guess.
Well, they will be. It is an unusual layout that Mr. Bishoprick did with the seats really over the rear axle of the car.
Yeah.
And Brian's got some seats. He's pretty good at wedging them into places like that, but there's still not much room.
No, it's still a challenge. I think we've got to, we put the regular seat rails on the bottom of them, some universal seat rails. I don't think we need them after putting the body back on the car. We're really
going to scoot them up.
No, exactly. Like you said, you can put a pillow behind you if you need it. But the car had a one position seating anyway.
Right.
And to fight it, I don't think so. We're just going to mount the seats directly onto a rail, but not an adjustable rail. That'll get us down a little bit more, and get us back so that you've got the steering wheel at least out in front of you some, and you won't have your knees up around your chin when you're driving the car. So that's what we're going to be working on the configuring the seats. I think we've got a plan.
We are going to have proper belts in this one.
Yeah, we actually have some Sparco 4-point cam locks, and that was when we showed you, on the build-up, we had the little bar, the little roll bar behind us. It's not really a roll bar. It's not over your head. It's actually a place to put mount the shoulder harnesses.
Well, Lee's come in Monday evening. This is Tuesday afternoon. We'll shoot as we go during the week, and whatever you do that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll
get a camera on it.
Yep.
And let's take a look at what happened.
We will. Now we've got the seats to do. Mounted the body today a little differently. We made some. The body, to tell you the truth, wasn't mounted before to the pan. We lifted it off without having to unbolt anything. It was kind of a surprise.
It was kind of a surprise.
It's like, hey, I wonder how light this it's not bolted down. So Rod and Charlie actually made some pretty cool brackets. They took some threaded rod. They tacked some steel elbow onto it at 90, and it actually pulls down the body, and it's a much better system. It only took 4 clamps to hold it down.
I'd like you to get it attached to the chassis.
Yeah, and it's attached to the chassis now.
Okay.
Put a new pan gasket attached to the chassis. It's
yeah. When we bolted those brackets down, we actually could see it compressing the pan gasket. Yeah.
Good.
So it pulled it down nice and tight, and then I think he added one more bracket up to the very front to the frame, which really made it feel solid.
So now we got 5 points. Okay, good.
So we got 5 on it, and we may do one on the other side just to balance it out, but it's firm right now the way it is.
Good.
He thought he wants polycarbonate back here so he can see his controller and motor and so forth.
People got to be able to see the stuff.
Well,
man.
it's true.
They really love
you will
stuff.
get a lot of questions about it. I think it'll be a very interesting electric car for you because you'll be able to play with all the pieces and see all the pieces and know. But I'm hoping you were talking about doing something a little more advanced, maybe a full-size pickup truck.
Well, I've had in my mind doing the advanced design GMC pickup truck. That's the model years between, I think it was 1947 and 53. It's a really classic pickup truck, and it's a full-size half-ton pickup, but I think they're a little bit smaller than today's half-ton chassis and everything. I believe a lot of people are actually taking those bodies and putting them on like a Chevy S10 frame,
right?
And mounting it on a modern,
on a later model,
frame. I don't see any reason in being a purist about it since it's going to be electric drive anyway.
Right, exactly.
It's not like you're trying to keep the,
all the serial numbers correct.
I think that would be a fun project. I know I'm not going to do this one for you.
Well, you open the door. You open the door.
Camera, and you be sitting there.
Send it to us. That's right.
And she shows how you do it.
Here, have another drink.
I'm just suggesting that such a vehicle could be done with air conditioning and heat and Bluetooth and the modern amenities fairly easily.
Certainly could.
If you just took the S10 chassis and a collectible body and went after it with that intention from the beginning, that could be a very neat
that could be a great project. Yeah. Absolutely.
And have your manual transmission, electric drive, and AC and heat, and hook in the iPhone for your tunes. And,
I was thinking with that one on these A123 modules you've been doing, you know, for that truck, be it just around the town truck, there's no reason to put a ton of batteries in the thing, but I would want it to be a nice performing truck.
Well, the nice thing about a truck is you can put a ton of batteries in it.
You can.
Yeah, you can.
But yes, you could do it with A123 modules and set it up for 45, 50 mile range, and then
Well, you know, when
if you like the way it goes and you want to be able to drive to Midland, you can always carry more.
yeah.
But I'd focus on that project, on the environmentals, kind of like the Escalade. Dallas-Fort Worth's not a whole lot different from Cape Girardeau. It gets warm in the summer and it gets pretty chilly in the winter, although I'm told not.
This week is, this last week was, you know, when I left on Sunday, it was, or before I left on Sunday, it was 80 degrees on Sunday.
Wow.
Which, you know, toward the end of January, it's not normal.
So what's your position on this global warming?
Well, it's getting warmer, but next year it's probably going to change back. So.
Is that right?
I mean, last year we had 3 inches of snow on the ground the same time of the year. So
you did, yeah.
I don't know. Definitely not in it to, you know, save the gases or anything. But with the gas prices the way they are, and you know, I just, when I was a kid, you know, you want something to do, you hop in the car and you go do it and don't think twice about it. And my daughter, when she was wanting to jump in the car, I'm like, you know, gas is $5 a gallon, or, you know, $4 a gallon. You can't just run down the road and not think about how much money you're spending.
But Texas, everything's down the road, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, she's...
and traffic is kind of considered a contact sport. All the vehicles are dangling a piece of chrome. And what you need to do, you don't really have any chrome, but get a couple pieces and just put them on a swivel here on the side where they wave. I've been...
Yeah, you can sacrifice
all the cars
them.
have one of these.
Yeah, you can sacrifice
piece of chrome
them.
swinging on the side. They consider traffic a contact sport down there. It's kind of like football. Yeah. But you have another advantage on this electric car thing. Lee was an ET in the Navy. That's a ship-going version of what I was, an AQ on aircraft. So he had an electronics background. But you've been remodeling your home.
Yeah, still. We've had it for about, in it for 2 years now, and it was just a house that was close to campus for my wife to work on her doctorate degree there in Denton, and so we bought a house that was kind of close, and we rented a little apartment which was too small for us, so we said, well, why are we wasting money on rent? Let's go ahead and just buy a place, and my wife has taken that on as a project, so it's going to be a nice house when we're done, but...
You're not done?
I wasn't planning on, you know, spending every dollar I had on the house remodel, but got to spend it on something, I guess.
But you didn't spend a whole lot on the roof because they have some sort of program in Texas, don't they?
Well, not all of Texas. Some of the cities have rebate programs for the utility companies, and some don't. Like Denton has one. Dallas has a program with their utility company, and I think Austin, and those are kind of the main ones in Texas. I lived down in Houston; they had nothing, so I was down there for about 12 years. I always wanted to do solar panels and stuff down there, but I mean, everything was out of your pocket. When I got to Denton, they give you like $3 an AC watt rebate for your solar, so. I was able to
that's pretty good.
Install the solar and basically have it paid for by the time it was installed with the rebate and the taxes.
How big a system did you do?
I did a little bit over 5 kW.
And what did that run?
It was about 22,000 installed.
And you got 15 of that? That's rebate?
15 rebate plus, you know, a little over 7 for the 30%.
Took the 30%
back from
federal?
Federal. Yeah.
It's about 22.
That's getting close.
That didn't cost you very much.
It was kind of a no-brainer. And it's been doing really good.
5 kilowatts. You're probably in a 5-hour zone down there. We're a little over 4 up here, but that's probably a 5-hour zone. That ought to do 25 kilowatts a day.
I've averaged probably 26 or 27 kilowatt hours a day.
There you go. You must be 5.5.
Yeah, 5 and some more. Yeah.
During the summertime, I get up as high as 34 kilowatts.
Wow.
and in the wintertime, this time of year, I'm around 24.
That's perfect.
Well, it works
you have
great.
a 12,600 watt battery pack here. Even counting losses, your worst day, you can do 2 of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And so your daughter's basically driving for free now.
Right.
The government and the utility company paid for your system, and now
Drive for free.
she can charge twice a day on that solar to run this vehicle, or you could get your
Yep. So all the people that talk
collectible
about
truck
you're just moving the tailpipe somewhere else, I can say,
Yeah, you didn't.
no, I didn't.
I have never bought into that. I got on a thing on LinkedIn and quoted them a number I got from the Department of Energy of 6 to 7.5 kilowatt hours of electricity that it takes to make a gallon of gasoline at an oil refinery. And I had 3 guys raise their hands and explain to me that I didn't know what I was talking about and that wasn't so. I don't have time for these arguments.
That's right.
If it's just
Not like you're making it up.
liar, pants on fire.
It's like, okay.
If that's the level of the discourse, then LinkedIn's off my list of things. And they started these forums. They were kind of fun for about 3 days, and they just loaded up with jerks with
All the kooks found it.
Yeah, just kooks. It's bizarre. Yeah, no, it's not the case. So,
No.
oil refineries, I guess you can see them at night, that they don't have any lights on. 'Cause
Yeah,
they don't use any
They don't use
electricity.
any electricity. Yeah, it's hard to find them.
Guess what I got in today?
What'd you get?
Revenge of the
it's
Electric
shipping,
Car, huh?
That's right. Oh, that's right, 'cause
DVD.
it went in-
Yeah,
yeah.
we kind of was pumping the theater release,
Yes.
but for me and most of my viewers, this is how we watch movies.
Yeah, yeah.
By recommendation only, and usually on DVD
That's
or
right.
online.
Right.
Revenge of the Electric Car, and I've got a book. I haven't gone through this yet, but I'm excited about it. A Bottle of Lightning, Super Batteries, Electric Cars, and the New Lithium Economy by Seth Fletcher, recommended by Chris Payne of Revenge of the
okay.
Electric Car. And Seth has been a popular science magazine writer for some time. And so I picked up a copy of that. We'll let you know what I think about it. But it is the theme around here. We do a lot of cars. People want cars, and cars are how you demonstrate this. The news to me is not the cars. It's the batteries. We've had the cars for 100 years. They crossed a threshold of viability by virtue of these batteries.
Yeah,
And
they're real
that's-
cars now. Yeah.
That's now they can be cars.
Yeah.
So this is a great hobby to work on at home and on your next build. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, that's
instead
what
of
you're going to
having
do your
this
next
here.
car, Lee. Sorry.
Wow.
In your
And,
nice new garage, solar powered.
Yeah, we gave you a go by. So, now, and by the way, I think that little AC50 system would work fine in a truck that size. A
Yeah.
big Silverado, maybe not, but S10 frame and one of the trucks were not that big in the 40s and 50s. They were all, even though they were heavy steel, they
Yeah,
were
they weren't that
smaller
big, yeah,
vehicles.
yeah.
And so that HPVS with a transmission with 3 speeds in it would drive that
Yeah, you
just
can
fine.
pick some gears. Yep.
An 11 HV back there with about 380 volts would do a lot better, though.
Yeah, it would.
I mean,
If you're just wanting to make Brian like smoke,
That's
see,
right.
that's
there's nothing else. I mean, you
What
know,
else is there? There you go.
put in a Soliton Shiva and
Whatever they get.
11s.
That's
and,
right.
yeah, make them smoke, baby.
That's it.
I think 111 HV will do
We'll
enough.
do it. Yeah.
And the 1400 amp controller, maybe.
Line lock. You know, just to get rid of those back tires.
What do you think of the mead rum?
Very good.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, really nice. Yeah.
About you know what the innovation is that I brought to this is all the whiskey makers do it wrong. They char their barrels to death. One of the things I did right with mead the first time was medium toast French oak.
Yeah, French
barrel.
oak, yeah.
Small barrel.
Yeah.
And that is a little bit of magic. you have much better, not charred, burnt black caramels, the caramelized
Right, the sugars
from
are
the
not
oak.
nearly as burnt, yeah.
And so 4 years in a barrel like that, and this just, it's like candy.
Yeah, no,
it's,
it's very
actually
tasty.
sweet.
Sweet.
And a strong caramel taste from that oak. Little coconut. It's just, and it's all about the oak. It's not really the.
Yeah, we could reduce a little of this down and pour it over some vanilla ice cream.
You could. It's like candy. It's just like candy.
Be a nice topping for your vanilla ice cream.
NetGain Motors, home of the Warp, Transwarp, and Impulse motors, introduced the improved Warp 9 motor. The Warp 9 is a 9 1/4 diameter series wound DC motor with a double-ended shaft featuring 26 improvements for 2010. Externally, the terminal studs have been enlarged from 3/8 to 1/2 inch diameter. Bigger is better. On the inside, a larger commutator, new brush composition, and split brush design with heavier springs handle even higher voltages and currents than before. Our new fan increases airflow by almost 50% over typical paddle-style fans. And all this translates into improved performance. For even more performance or larger applications, take a look at NetGain's Warp 11 motor, an 11 3/4 diameter series wound DC motor for even greater torque and power. Since 2002, NetGain Motors has been leading the EV industry with precision, performance, and price. Visit us at go-ev.com. NetGain Motors, warp power to go.
All right, Rod. So we have made some seats for the Swallow. Didn't actually make seats. We did make some brackets. And I want to show everybody why we did new seats.
They were lacking a bit.
These were the old seats. This was the back
rear,
of the seat.
Back side.
Yeah, and this was the bottom. And basically what you were doing with this is you were sitting on the floor, but you were sitting so far forward, your back was straight up and down and your butt was kind of far forward that you really, unless you're probably 2 feet tall, couldn't fit in the car. Now,
Yeah.
also this was stuffed with foam, some old socks.
Little wiring.
Yeah, little wiring, maybe some aerobic headbands from the 80s.
Real good mouse house.
Yeah, we're not quite sure what was in it. Also some bird seed. So we told Lee that he wasn't going to get those old seats back, and you know what? He was okay with that. So we got some of the same seats that we use in the Spider, the Speedsters from
Right.
Special Edition. Now, until we put the body back on the car, which we just did this week, Tuesday, I guess, right? Put the body back on.
Yeah, and we were really glad that everything fit.
That everything
'cause
fit,
The
yeah.
body was in one room, and,
And we were
chassis
working
was in here.
underneath it. Also was nice to get it on. As you can see, the body's on the car, so we couldn't get the seats in until that point. What we wanted to make sure is that we could move back a little bit, and these seats give us a little rake. I don't know if this is a 10, 20 degree rake on these seats, but it moves your shoulders away from the steering wheel a little bit, which is really what we needed. Still keeping your butt up there where you could, reach the pedals.
Gives us something to put our shoulder
Got
straps.
our shoulder straps.
Didn't have any shoulder harnesses on
If we can
before.
see them here, I guess I'm staying in the picture. We got some Sparco shoulder harnesses that we're mounting here. So we've got all kinds of neat and safe stuff in here. So what we had to do though was when we moved the seats back, our bottom, as far as we could put them down, was really at the top of the torsion tubes.
Right. Yeah.
We ended up cutting away a little bit of the pan so that we could get these in there. And what Rod and the guys devised here was to use this steel
channel,
steel angle that's already cut, got the holes cut in it, made some feet. We've got a cut out here. I don't know if you can see it. This is where it actually goes over the torsion tubes for support on the back here, and this is actually fits into a channel, and this is going to be welded. Am I correct? One of these sides is going to be welded?
Yeah,
this one?
We'll weld this side in
so that this
where
is
it hits the
down.
channel. Yeah.
And then these seats are fixed. The reason that we didn't put sliding track on them was because that track raises it up like another 1.5 inches. Now, Lee may find when he goes home for his daughter or wife or something like that, they're going to be driving the car a lot. that it's more comfortable.
They may have to change the cushion.
May have to change the cushion.
A little bit thinner.
You know, but our goal was that, you know, Lee had spent all the time and money to get this car, you know, refurbished and updated. And
he wants to
drive it. Yeah, he wants to drive the car. It's a pretty cool car.
Nobody wants to pay for a toy that can't play.
No. So, and Rod, go ahead and show them how this kind of mounts in there, and just lay it in, and then we are going to go ahead and weld those down.
That's basically it.
And that's really it. I mean, that's in. It'll be bolted in the front, welded in the back.
Then the sparkle harnesses come across here.
Harnesses come across over the top.
Lap belts come around.
Lap belts come in. So I think, you know, it may not be the prettiest solution, but we do have a motto around here: paint it black, it'll disappear.
Right.
By the time we paint those black, I think it'll disappear. And Lee was talking about too, he may end up putting a you know, a stereo in the car. He can mount it, you know, an amplifier.
He's going to trick
back
it all
there.
out. You know,
Exactly.
enjoy his tunes and hit the road.
That's how Lee rolls. So that is the seats, which was kind of a big deal. And we've been doing some other things on the car.
Lee's worked on the mirrors. He's got the mirrors all
secured up. Mirrors there, You know? But we'll show you also too in a second here. We'll show you the dash. What we did. We did all the wiring in this car, and let's take a peek at the dash.
Okay.
All right, Lee, so we got all wired up last night, and it is Friday. And Lee's trying to get out of here, I guess, go back to Texas, huh, at some point in time with your car?
We need to get on the road pretty soon.
Are you? Okay, well, we're gonna bust our hump here then. You saw that we got the seats all done, even though you can't see them. What I wanted to show you was the dash. This car before had 3 gauges in here. I think it had a speedo here, ammeter, and a voltmeter. The speedo was running off of a sensor on there were magnets that were glued, in fact they still are, to one of the constant velocity joints. It's a solution, but not the best solution. In an electric vehicle, one of the things that you really want to have, and you know, Jack and I battle instrumentation all the time, is you need to know where you are in terms of your pack and how, you know, depleted the pack is when you're driving. Also, how far you've gone, because once you know your range, you know your limits. We set up the Xantrex as Lee did last night. And I think we're going to show you how to do that here in a couple of minutes. You can set it up to have a daughter mode. Basically, we're using one of the alarm circuits to put an upper and lower limit of when the pack is depleted, when it's going to go ahead and shut your pack down. And I think you got this set to about 10%.
Right. It's actually going on the state of charge.
On the state of charge, yeah.
Off the battery monitoring circuit. And there's a set of relay inputs in there that you can set for either normally open or normally closed. Right now, or the default setting, I believe, is normally open. So what we did was we changed that over to normally closed. We ran that in a circuit that's on the controller.
Coming into the controller, yeah.
Right, that inhibits it. So we got 2 things in series in that relay circuit, and that's the Xantrex there for monitoring the low battery, and the other thing that we have going through is the J1772 board, so that if the if the plug is plugged into the car, it will inhibit the controller from being energized as well.
So we've got the interlock circuit in there, so that you basically can't drive away,
right,
plugged into with your charging port. So at this point, then, so we put in, and you know how you know famously we love the Speed Hut gauges. This one says Swallow on it. You know, that's a great, for $10. That's a great opportunity to you know, write your favorite message on there, but in this case, I wasn't very creative, so we just put the name of the car. It does have an odometer and a trip odometer. Also, like the other Speed Hut gauges, we've got our the button here, and we can run this through the date, how far we've gone. There's your trip odometer that can be reset. We've got our directions here, and we've also got our a drag strip in a box. We can do a 0 to 60s, and we can do quarter miles, and that tells us what gauge we have, and then we go back to our odometer. So we really like those Speed Hut gauges, and that'll give Lee, once he knows the range of the car, he'll be able to look at this as well, so you don't get stranded out there.
Right.
Xantrex, you know, not the most elegant solution, but a pretty good solution at this point, you know, and you are using some of the, you know, outputs for the alarms and things like that.
Right.
Gives you some more control over the vehicle. This is our regular Curtis gauge here. You know, gives you RPM, amps, your voltage, your motor temperature, your controller temperature. Simple, but it gives you an instantaneous readout, really not a trend line, but at least tells you what it's doing at the time. We took and repurposed the old amp meter here. It was a 0 to 500. This is a 650 amp controller, but you hit 650 so briefly that,
Right.
you know, it's, if you pegged it at 500 for a little while, it's going to back off anyway when things starts to go. So that's the complement of gauges. Headlights here. Again, we cycle through the Curtis with that momentary button. Windshield wipers, I'm not going to put them on, but Rod got that back to where we have the high and low in the windshield wipers. They're touching the glass right now, but our windshield wipers also work. Charlie, who is our resident artist, didn't quite like the look of that aluminum dash, so he stole the dash from us for a couple days and took some Carpathian elm veneer, and I think he took some, he kind of likes Formica glue. There's a lot of it around here. And Charlie Formica glued it on there and then went and got some, I guess some type of, what'd you get, Charlie?
Clear lacquer.
Just some clear lacquer and just brushed it on and just worked it with, you know, I think from what, some 400, 500, 600, 1,000 grit, you know. Yeah, just would put a layer on, sand it down, kind of to get the dust out. You know, sitting overnight, it's really tacky. Get out the cat paw prints and dust that settles on it, and you just, every time, just put a coat. You just have to be patient with it, and we watched him do this. Sand it down, put another coat on it, sand it down. After a few days, it really looks like something special. So that's the dash. We're wired. You can maybe see a few of them hanging there, but we're going to go ahead and take care of that. And Lee's just going to go ahead and step you through that, I think, that process. I think that they'll be interested to see how we set up that Xantrex.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and do that.
Did you want to get the camera up close so they can see the gauge doing it, or?
Yeah, we'll do that. Absolutely. So we'll go ahead and get that.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. You know, Jack handed me this this book yesterday to set up the Xantrex, and you know, said have fun. So I pulled out this sheet of paper for the menu system, and this is kind of what you get. You got all kinds of status menu, a history menu, your system properties, low battery alarm settings, high voltage alarm settings, low voltage alarm settings. Go all the way on the other side here. You got, you know, battery monitoring properties. There's a ton of stuff, and to get to it on the gauge, you have to know what function it is. These are all function like F5.5, 6.4, or whatever on the gauge. So it's a little bit amazing at how much information that you can use and have the Xantrex do, but it's a little hard to get at. If you don't have this paper, I guess you could pull it back down from the internet and get your functions, but if you don't have something to reference, you're kind of out of luck. But the guys wanted me to go ahead and go through what I did to set up the daughter mode section on that. So that's in a couple of sections. It's on the low battery alarm settings. It's defaulted to 50% for that low battery alarm. So what we wanted to do is change that setting to be 10%. So that's 10% state of charge. So that's at function 2.0. And the other thing that we had to change was over here on the battery monitoring properties. And that was this function 6.4, which is the alarm contact polarity, which enables the selection between a normally open or normally closed contact. And the default value for it, as I mentioned, is normally open. So we needed to change that to normally closed. So what I'll do is show you on the Xantrex here, kind of how you get into that menu and how you change those values. So in order to get to the function menu, You hold the menu button here for about 3 seconds. So doing that now. So now you go right arrows to get you to different menus in here. So what you want to do is get to the function menu. And now we're at the function menu. So you hit the menu button again. It starts out at function 1.0. So what we want to do from here is get to 2.0 for the percent. So you hit the right arrow here and you go through to 2.0 and then you hit menu again and it's at 50%. It looks like these values don't survive a power down. So what we've done is we've been working on the car. So I've been toggling the maintenance switch on and off, and it looks like it's gone back to the default value. So we'll adjust that back down to 10% here. So now we're at 10%. And then the other thing we had to do is change that function of the relay to be normally closed. So that was function 6.2, so we'll get over to it. Hit menu again. And we are, where we at? We're at function 6.2. Now, let me double check my page here. Okay, no, that's the millivolt shunt setting. So we wanted to be at 6.4. My mistake. Hit menu here, and we've got it again defaulted back to its default value of normally open. We want to change that to normally closed. Hit menu, and we're back out, and we're done. So that's the sequence to get through this. I'm definitely going to have to make a note of any time I use the maintenance switch that those values will have to be changed again, because with that relay set up the way it is, the controller will not energize without making those changes. So that's it.
There's Rod. He's going in to weld our seat brackets in that we showed you earlier.
That's right. Do not attempt this alone.
Yeah, Rod is he's an artist in metal.
In disguise.
Artist in metal, like others are artists in oil or words. Rod is an artist in metal.
We build waterfalls.
Let's see if we can show you all some hot metal. Cover your eyes, all of the...
Yeah, come on, everybody. Here we go.
EVTV viewers, cover your eyes. Look at that. So we're welding the brackets down to the floor. We still get the seats up. Bolting was not an option. They really needed to be welded down. They're just tall. Sparks are flying. Noxious fumes, gas clouds. Ah, fire.
That floor pan's really thin.
Yeah. That's an old VW fan.
That's how easy it is.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Rod, for your expert opinion.
Oh, you want my opinion?
No, I'm shutting off.
Well,
see ya.
Okay, they've kind of called me in on the swallow. This is a J1772 circuit. I had put this little AC31 board from David Kurzel Modular EV Power in a little plastic thing in here. And we knew we had two wires from the connector, a red and a blue. One for our proximity switch, which is the little switch here. And the other one is the co-pilot signal specified in SA J1772 2010. It being a 50-50 shot, what do I mean by that? The control pilot is a lower right-hand pin here. But I can never remember if it's a lower right-hand pin here or if it's a lower right-hand pin here, which is a mirror image. And so we have two little pins. It's a 50-50 shot every time. So we plugged it in, and either way, it not only didn't work, but our little AC31 board made a very high-pitched hum. That's often the problem I've had with J1772 is the neutral not being tied to the neutral for the little AC31 board. Or for your charger. We have here actually a three-prong cord for the charger. An ordinary NEMA 5-15 three-prong cord to plug into a wall. So we put a NEMA 5-15 on the end of the wires from the J1772 connector. Why would I do such a maddening thing? We've only put one receptacle in the car, and that's right here, the J1772. So I have it plugged in, since we had this cord on the charger anyway, I've got it set up where Lee, in an emergency, or as he otherwise might desire, can get in under this wooden panel and simply unplug this from here and plug it into a regular extension cord. I would not view that as the way to go most of the time. Rod had, our Ameren UE consultant, had got one phase on the ground pin and the other one, the neutral, on one of the phase pins, or what we're using for it. Now, understand it's not entirely his fault. You're not supposed to run 240 on a NEMA 5-15 anyway. We've made up our own little code in here that one phase goes on the phase pin and the other phase goes on the neutral pin, and we use the ground pin for the neutral. But that Ameren UE hadn't picked that up yet, so they didn't tell Rod in any of the training courses. However, the ground pin on the plug from the charger is tied to the charger frame, which is then tied to the vehicle frame, and so we need to use that as the neutral, and so we did. And now that we've got those two swapped, I can plug it in, and as you can see, our clipper creak comes on and our charger starts to blow. So we're in pretty good shape here. This episode of EVTV is brought to you by the Winston Battery Company Limited, makers of high-capacity lithium-yttrium rare earth cells, including the popular 160 amp-hour model featuring cycle lives in excess of 5,000 cycles when discharged to 70%, the longest useful working life of any available battery of any chemistry. A leading battery technology scientist, inventor, and entrepreneur since 1995, Mr. Winston Chung envisions a new world of clean electric power for the dawn of a new era of electric vehicles. For your next electric vehicle design project, contact Winston Battery Limited. Energy for a bright future. We have been, I'm here with Lee Moorehead and his Swallow. We have been spending the whole late afternoon, early evening playing interlocking. And pin 9 on the controller has a interlock function that, let's see, does it need 12 volts to work, or 12 volts is the inhibit?
It needs 12 volts to work.
Right. So if we break the path of the 12 volts,
Right.
it will inhibit our contactor and disconnect our controller. And that's a very useful feature. But we've been playing hell to do it. To demonstrate how it works now that it does, Lee, would you turn on the, we can hear our contactor come up, and our controller is actually working. If I take our J1772 connector, which is now working properly, and plug it in, it comes on, but our contactor goes off. Why is this useful? Well, you can't get in the car and drive it away with the connector in. But in doing so, we routed the 12 volts from the controller through the normally closed contacts of the relay on David Kurzul's AC31 J1772 control board. And then we routed it up to the Xantrex, the A1 and A2 pins on the back of the Xantrex amp hour meter. And we set this up with function 6.4 to be normally closed instead of normally open. So the 12 volts normally will go from the controller through the J1772 board, through the Xantrex, back to the controller, and it can operate. In the event that I plug in the J1772 connector, that will engage that relay, breaking the path of the 12 volts, and we disconnect our controller. The problem has been the Xantrex, and we have to set that up for normally closed. We have it set up for, what did you use, 10%?
10% on the state of charge.
And you can change that to whatever you want. Well,
Right.
you can do it on battery voltage, you can do it on any number of things. We're using percent state of charge, which is derived from the amp hours that it counts, and setting it at 10%. At 10%, that relay will likewise go open it from its normally closed position and remove the 12 volts and disable the controller. And so she'll go from a fully operational vehicle to a coaster in one smooth move. And so 90% of your battery is all she can use. So we've used both the Xantrex and the J1772 to basically interlock our controller. We've had a number of problems with that, some bad wiring, but most importantly, the Xantrex, when you set 6.4 for normally closed instead of normally open, you have to press and hold the function button until it returns to its on state to kind of save that setting. And similarly, when we did all this, none of it worked at all. And what happened was we got with the 1311 programmer. Could you show them that, Lee?
Sure.
That's a little handheld program we use with a Curtis 1238, and in fact we have it plugged in right now. It has a function called drivers, and under drivers there's a function for the contactor, and it has a very inexplicable interlock type, which can be anything from 0 through 4. Its default value is 2. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't do anything. And we had to set it to 0 to use pin 9, which is called the switch 3 input to the controller, to enable that so that that 12 volt signal is an enable for the controller, and if we remove that 12 volts, it's inhibited. And it's a very handy feature, but it's buried 5 levels deep in the menus in the 1311 controller, and it is your contactor, driver, interlock, mode. And page 48 on the manual for the original Curtis 1238 Rev C. Let's see, what else? So that was the two problems we had were kind of really software, wouldn't you say, the controller setup, and then the Xantrex setup, and then we had one connector that was
Intermittent.
out. And then we didn't have our neutral right on the J1772. So we've kind of spent the evening, but it's sort of fun stuff because we've got our charger working to charge, and it disables the controller where you can't drive away with the cord in the receptacle. Further, we can set a mode on the Xantrex where when you've used 90% of your battery, it disables the car too. So I'm pretty proud of our two interlocks here. I think your daughter's going to have a tough time really hosing this up, even through mental lapses.
Yep.
And that's not to say that daughters are stupid. They just have other things on their mind, and it's up to Dad to foresee that. And but I think this is working pretty good. Our charger's working, our J1772, and we're about ready to drive this, aren't we?
Think so.
Well, let's see what she does.
All right.
Okay, Lee, we're back at our deluxe coffee clutch set here in front of the Swallow. We had a little bit of an evening last night.
We did.
Troubleshooting. And this is the part that is fun, frustrating, and worries me about some of our viewers. It's possible to get into a little situation. What did we have last night with the J1772 and the interlock? How many things were wrong?
Well, we decided to integrate the interlock for the J1772, and we also were going to run it through the Xantrex for the state of charge, which we set for 10% to basically interlock the car to protect the batteries and also to protect the car from being driven off while it was being charged.
Good idea.
So we had all that done. We had the meter set. We had everything done, and we went to test the interlock. We plugged in the J1772, and we still could make the car go.
In fact, we plugged in the J1772 and nothing happened. Your Swallow was kind of an electric laser. And what we mean by that is you plug it in and you turn it on and it lays there.
But it made noise.
But it made noise.
Not a good noise.
A little squeal out of the David Kurzel's ABC31 board. To start with, Rod had swapped the neutral and one of the phases on the power cord.
Right.
And this was between the J1772 receptacle and a little three-prong plug on the...
Right, we had to go from the J1772 with a little pigtail down to a male...
And our little board needs the neutral
Yeah.
for the 12-volt co-pilot signal. It has to have the neutral return. Well, it had 120 volts AC instead of the neutral return. That's not good.
10 times.
Well, it survived it.
Yeah.
And then what did we find?
Well, once we got that fixed, we plugged it back in to test, and we got the charger to come online, and that looked good. And then we went to test the throttle, and we originally thought it was going to be just a throttle input inhibit, but we had a car neutral, and the motor spun just fine. So then we...
if you're referring to the 1238 manual, this is a switch 3 input on pin 9, and the reason we kind of thought it was involved with the throttle is normally they use a micro switch on the throttle for that interlock.
Yeah.
And what does that do? It prevents you from starting the car with your foot on the throttle. So don't do that. We're using it for something else. Beneath all of it, I did not realize that there is a software configuration, a variable you have to set.
Right.
in the controller. Under drivers, contactor, interlock, you have 4 modes, 0, 1, 2, 3. It has to be set to mode 0 or none of this works. So we thought we were all rigged up.
Right. The default's what, 2 on it, I think.
No, yeah, default is 2, and we have to be 0 to for it to work. And then our wiring to the Xantrax was broken.
Well, not completely.
Well,
It worked for me, didn't work for you.
Right. When he would ring it out with an ohmmeter, he got a diode, actually.
Yeah, because it worked one time, didn't work
It
another.
worked one direction and not the other. I couldn't get it to read anything. And so we were breaking into a fight over that when the spade lug broke off and fell into his hand. Then we decided that was probably the problem.
Check the wire, it worked just fine.
And so we've got all that set up, and I'm kind of pleased with the way that works. Because the charger was in the right rear of the car, and that was a handy place to put the J1772 connector, and this car really didn't have an obvious place to do that. It's got a lot of curves.
Yeah.
So even finding a flat spot on it's a little bit of a trick. And we found a pretty good place for it, but it would be possible to get in and drive away with the cord in. And the cords are expensive. So in any event, we have J1772, we have it there, we have it interlocked, and it's all working now. What are you going to do at home?
Well, I was looking out for EVSEs because I knew you were putting in the J1772 for me, and kind of took to heart what you mentioned about these NEMA connectors doing a cycle of plugging in once a day for a year. They're not meant for that. I mean,
They're just not that durable. It's not a safety issue so much as
Right.
I was having them come apart in my hand after 6 months.
you got these nice 50 amp plugs here with the little safety guard on them and everything, but so safety, like you said, is not really an issue so much, but just the cycle life of plugging these in and out of that receptacle is going to loosen up over time.
Yeah, the receptacle loosens up.
And it's just not going to last. So I was doing some reading out. Actually, I found it on the Nissan Leaf discussion list. A guy had built his own EVSE, and the guy who does the board that you put in the car, what was it, Kurzel?
David Kurzel, of Miami, I believe. He
Right.
has a company called Modular EV Power.
Right. He has one that you can do, and you showed that on your show already.
Sure.
But this guy had built another one. The board's quite a bit smaller and is fully J1772 compliant. It does everything his board does, and it's a little bit smaller. It cost $80. I got, I think, one of the first production runs out of here from him. He had it shipped up here for me so I could get it built and get on your show with it a little bit. Unfortunately, the cable you had that you loaned me for the J1772, I think, had just the proximity wire and not the pilot wire.
Huh.
And I'm not sure if, it's hard to get it backwards when there's only one. But I hooked it up and built it, plugged the EVSE in. I got the green light on the board. We tested it on your vehicle, and it just sat there. So I did do a continuity check for the pin to the.
That was one of the first Yazaki, actually, cords shipped, and I believe that the receptacle and the cord together was $1,300.
Yeah.
So we could put it on TV and talk about it. And now we find that one of the wires is missing.
Doesn't have two, so it's just got one. And I even stripped back the insulation on it about 2 inches just to look, see if it had broken off at where the insulation had been stripped, and it's not there. It's just,
I gotta believe that's the. But did you trace that out? Was that the proximity or the co-pilot?
I was going to have you verify it for me because I traced it out and I came up with proximity. And you know, you're right. By the time you look at the computer, walk out here, and then look at the pin and go, well,
This is like they're a mirror image of each
backwards.
one. It's the lower right-hand pin, okay, on the receptacle or the plug.
Damn.
I knew this.
Exactly. So bottom line, it didn't work. I do have another, I ordered a J72 from Sharon from Chinook. And according to her last week, it was in the mail. So I should be getting it sometime this year, I guess. You never know. She said it's coming DHL. So.
Oh my God, we had a terrible incident with DHL and Sharon
Right.
over some things, but I have ordered several things from her. Their price is very good. I think we were getting those cords with an 8-meter cable, the 70-amp version, for $175, but the shipping bumped that up some.
Yeah. I believe mine was $189 shipped, but I ordered it with a 5-meter cable because I didn't feel I needed that much cable laying around the garage. So it's coming. I will have to report to you once I get it hooked up whether or not this all works, but it should. I wanted the option. The reason I did this, you know, if you really wanted to just build the EVSE, I guess you could forgo this plug and wire this in straight to your
Sure.
to your 240 and have your EVSE there in one box.
Well, this makes it portable.
I wanted to make it portable. Most of the RV parks around have the 50 amp service with this connector on it. I figured I could have this plug into any RV park and still have the safety and the
Now, the guy that did it, this is called Open EVSE?
open EVSE. And
Where do you find that online?
you find it at http://code.google.com/p/open-evse.
Okay, so better Google Open EVSE.
Just Google open EVSE.
So this is an
and you'll
open
find
source
it.
board, right?
It's an open source board. He's got all the Eagle
Drawings.
so you can, you know, send the Eagle to any PC
file.
board manufacturer, and they can make you a PC board. He has them available for the GFCI version. It's $80,
And that's populated.
and that's populated. It's got everything on it.
And that's probably how you want to go, because this is I
Yes.
can't even see this stuff.
It's tiny. I'll hold it up
they're
here and
all
point to
surface
it.
mount.
It's all surface mount component. This box is what, 4 by 6 or 7 or so in size. It's not very big. You can see in relation to the
I
plug
don't think
there.
you got enough box there, Lee, but
Well,
you wrestle with that.
I wrestled with it a little bit. I got it in there. I got it shut. It'll work. And it looks, you know, pretty nice. I just need to get a little bit.
Very portable. Why did you pick this board over the Kurzel board?
Well, price for one. I mean, it was $80. I think the Kurzel's board is
About 175 or something.
almost $200. I think.
Was it?
Yeah, it was,
that's
it
a
was
good
more,
reason.
more expensive, and this one,
Does this do anything different?
it doesn't do anything different. I mean, it does everything you need to be an EVSE. You can get a programmer and program the current rating it advertises. I had them. I bought all my components for 50 amps, so I had them set mine for 50 amps. It's not something that I think is going to be changing, so I don't really see the need for the programmer. I mean, once you build it to what you're going to plug it into, and these are 50 amp circuits, so I went ahead and said 50 amps for that. So it's already programmed for that point, so it's going to advertise to the car, I can provide 50 amps.
Well, a car can take about 26 amps.
Yeah.
But you're thinking about doing some further work.
Yeah, we, you know, I may have a truck in my future as soon as I get my house remodel done and you know, save up another a bit for another project. It's probably a couple of years down the road, honestly, but.
Well, you're a little bit like me. You haven't missed many meals. About 3 laps in this Swallow, and the daughter inherits it, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to drive it too much. It's not very comfortable for me to drive, but I think it'll fit the wife and the daughter quite well, and they can fight over it. I'll just have to keep it working, I guess.
And that should get you some approval to start a truck project.
I
huh?
think so. I think so. So,
Well, just a little bit. We've been fooling around here in the shop. I don't think you would have any problems doing one of these. Like just
well,
little mechanical stuff on the adapter or something. Farm it out or buy it somewhere. You know.
yeah. Yeah, the electrical stuff I'm fairly comfortable with. The just back to the EVSE for a second. The $80 board, like I said, all you get for the $80 is the board, but there's not that much more you need. You need a contactor. You need a 12-volt relay because the board switches the, it can switch a 12-volt relay. It can't switch the 100 or 240-volt coil. So you just use a 12-volt relay to switch that.
And then you need a power supply.
And then a 12-volt power supply. A 12-volt power supply I dug out of my junk box, and you need one that accepts the 240 in and gives you 12 volts out, and that's it. Then the J1772 connector, and you can hardwire it in or do this. So not a bad solution, and not really that expensive. I think, like I said, $80 into the board. The cord here was $20. For that, the relay was $20 on the 50 amp relay was $20 on eBay. Jack, you provided the 12 volt relay for me. I got it out of your box.
$5.
So,
So you're 125, 130 bucks in it with the box, and then but another 189 on the cord.
Yeah.
So less than 300 bucks. Well, that sets a new world record. I showed them how to build one for 900, and they're showing up at Lowe's and Central Hardware and stuff like that now for $900 and $1,000. We put in a GE Watt station that works fine, but this I'm attracted to because of the way you did the very small box, and this you've got a portable solution. The Nissan guys, this is fascinating. I've been trying to get somebody, in fact I did some software with pretty gauges and stuff. I wanted to do it on the iPhone or the tablet or something with an amp hour counter and a kilowatt hours and current and speed with a GPS and the whole thing, like one of these OEM cars. Guess what the Nissan guys want?
was that basics?
An amp hour counter. They've got all this stuff about state of charge, but they don't know how many amp hours. So the guy did a little amp hour counter for them, and they're putting them in their cars. It gives them a digital readout of how many amp hours.
Yeah, they were back to the basics, right? Do it yourself.
The grass is always greener on the other side of the thing. I did mention when we got together this book. It's been a few days. This is actually Saturday morning. Lee got here Monday, and we've been working on this thing all week. It's been a lot of niggling things about like the brakes and stuff and the seats. This book, Bottle Lightning, Seth Fletcher. I guess I expected a superficial strike here. There's a lot of opportunists in the EV thing. It's a hot topic. I'll do a quick book, put it up on Amazon, and people ask me all the time to recommend books, and I really haven't found any. Most of the build books are dated on printing, and so who needs to know about a Curtis 1231 and a ADC motor? That's what this guy was doing in '95.
Right.
So, but this book I've been reading, I'm about a third of the way through it, and I've already sent him an invitation to speak at EVCON, and we're just going to keep begging until he does. So you can come buy the book at the convention, but you may want to get a copy ahead of time. He weaves a winsome tale of batteries, cell phones, electric cars, with some great history, pretty well researched, even on things I thought I knew about Volta's batteries and the frog experiment stuff. He puts that in a context where it's much more believable what actually happened. Okay. And the big fight between Galvani and Volta and so forth, and how Volta finally settled it with the piles, and the dispute over essentially the turbofish and its ability to shock you was the issue. But he goes through John Goodenough's work. The first batteries Goodenough did were the lithium cobalt, and a group in England tricked him into signing away the rights, have received billions in royalties, and never would even contribute to his college. And the understanding was that they would receive all the monies, and after their costs were recouped, they would split it, and they never gave him a penny. But he actually did the lithium cobalt, then the lithium manganese, and finally the lithium iron phosphate that we like. Super batteries, electric cars, and the new lithium economy. You need to know what's in this book from backwards, the history, to forwards, what's going to happen. And this Seth Fletcher actually writes quite well. The book is in microtype. Get it on an ebook so you can blow it up. I already have the book. I'm going to get it on Kindle just so I can read it. The print's, it's 215 pages, but it's microtype. Whoever picked his type font was out to spend the least they could. Yeah. And but the book is fascinating, the writing is very well done, and the research is quite good, and I recommend the book. And we're going to try to get Mr. Fletcher to come to EVCon and talk to our attendees about batteries and the history and where they're going and so forth. And I highly recommend it. We battled with a car last night, but it's a beautiful Saturday morning. Let's go see if we can get some video of you driving an electric car.
All right.
Do you think she'll go?
I think it'll go.
Let's fire it up.
All right.
Hop in and
You can watch me figure out how
yeah.
to crawl into this thing. That's not so bad. A couple dozen more times, I'll be an expert.
Uh-huh. Okay, hold it.
Okay.
You're chalked. Let me help you a little. Okay, away the chalks. Will she fire up? The sound of a roaring engine. I love it.
I hear it click. Stars on the controller display.
Press the button.
All right, well, we're about to see here. I'm in reverse.
And you're rolling.
I'm rolling.
Cool. Just go straight back. Come on back. Now you can start cutting it. Cut her hard. Nope, the other way. What? Where are you going?
Going out that door, right?
Yeah. You have no room to turn around.
I'm not making that way. Okay. Now I'm too late to do that.
Yeah, I think you might still get it. Turn it and let's see. Yeah, you're going to have to pull back up. Hold it. Whoa. Now cut it and go that way. Yeah, there's no room to turn around there. All right, pull her up. This is like our Austin Powers moment, huh? All right, hold it. Yeah, let me get the camera. And we'll just follow you out. You might make it. Cut it a little more. Turn the wheel a little more. All right, straighten her out. Yeah. You're good. You're good. Straighten it out. You're turning the wrong way. Straighten it. Yeah, there you go. Okay. On back. Looks like you've got pretty good low speed control. If you got her in a gear, let's why don't you take off and give her a little exercise and bring her back. See what you think. Well, he gets away pretty good.
Well, she goes, Jack.
What do you think?
It's good. Got a something's going on with the pedal. When you floor it, it cuts out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So not sure what that is.
I think we can fix that.
You can probably fix it in the controller.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but yeah, when you go all the way to the floor, it drops back out.
Huh. We're probably entering a voltage that's out of range on the controller. I think we can fix that.
Yep.
Alrighty.
So other than that, she goes pretty good.
Pull her into the garage. Let's see what we can do. The Escalade has kind of an enormous battery pack. We've been playing with the charger and have got it fully charged, but now we need to take it down and zero balance it, and that means removing 76 kilowatt hours of energy from a 400 amp 192 volt battery pack. That's an immense amount of power. We can do it over a series of days using my little resistor outfit. I've got some 1,000 watt, 1,000 watt quarter ohm resistors we can put in series. It'll burn a lot of current, give off a lot of heat, and not really do a whole lot for us. Instead, I've run a cable from where the charger connects to the front of the battery pack over here to the wall, and I want to show you something here. Some of you may remember this device. This is the Aurora Power 1 6,000 watt inverter. And what we've done is connected our 192 volt battery pack to this and connected the output with a normal L6-30 240 volt connector, and our panel is right here. And what this does is takes our DC output of the pack, and right now we are running right at 41 amperes of DC into the Aurora. And let me see if I can make out what it's doing. 6,000, it's 246 volts is what our system is on the grid. We're doing 6,381 watts right now. 20 megohms, 0 milliamps leakage. The inverter is okay. $9.3 kilowatt hours so far today. That's €4.60. We've taken out 75 kilowatt hours already. We're right now at 6,170. Our thing is 67 degrees. And there we are at 6,242 peak watts and 25.1 amps. We're basically running the shop today and yesterday on the Escalade 76 kilowatt battery pack. And that'll let us take it down to around 3 volts. And from there, I've got another little device we've rigged up I want to show you.
NetGain Controls introduces the new Warp Drive Industrial Controller. The Industrial is designed to handle a maximum of 1,400 amps and up to a 360 volt nominal battery pack. The unit's rugged design looks and works great in the automotive environment while protecting it from the elements. In addition to higher continuous currents than the classic Warp Drive controller, the Industrial comes with several major enhancements. Liquid cooling is available and uses leak-free and rugged AN fittings. The Industrial controller has complete isolation on both throttle channels, giving the highest possible immunity from situations that might affect the electrical throttle input. High voltage connections are fully protected underneath the sealed cover. Voltage leaks between vehicle chassis and a battery pack are detected, alerting the user to potential safety problems. Controller settings can be completely customized using the NetGain Controls interface module, which can also log data to an onboard SD card. The controller weighs in at 25 pounds. Visit www.ngcontrols.com to order your Warp Drive Industrial Controller now.
Here we are at the back of the Escalade. I've got half a dozen things going on. We're monitoring our batteries as they go down. As you can see, back here, I've got the Manzanita charger hooked up. And one of our little voltmeters is showing our pack voltage right now at 161.6. I've got a cell at 2.90, so we're taking it down pretty good. I'm about to shut off our Aurora inverter and start dealing with the cells individually. This is a little device that we've talked about. Well, first I've got a polycarbonate shield on one half of it. We've got our Vicor DC to DC converter. It makes 12 volts for my little meter there. And a Manzanita PFC 75. The Manzanita is the largest charger that I can find at this point. It'll do about 14 kilowatt, about 75 amps. And we're going to charge this to 208 volts. I've got my little AC31 J1772 board in here ready to be wired up. And we are going to replace the 3-wire AUG10 cable I had plugged into the Manzanita with 3 4-AUG wires back to the wires for our J1772 connector. And that is because at 75 amps, you really need a 6-AUG or better. And Manzanita recommends a 4-AUG connection for 75 amps. We're going to comply with that in the truck. This device is kind of a not very advanced version of what we were talking about last week. Here is my controller voltmeter, and it has the relays on it. This is my 0.1 ohm resistor, and this is my contactor that this controls, and I have a 12 volt power supply to power all this. Ooh, that helps. Got me there. The wow. Guess that was right here on our power supply. I got a little tingle. What we have is actually two ends. One of them, and they're not really polarized. We're just going to put this resistor across one of the cells and draw current through it. And this contactor is going to control that, and this voltage will control that. We did find out something very interesting. We're only using a 0.1 ohm resistor on this. And so let me shut off that inverter. We're down to 159 volts pack voltage, and that kind of does the trick. Now we're going to go through our pack. Now here's the issue. I've got a little 10 gauge wire here, and I'm going to hook this to that cell there, and this to the other end of it. And I've got my two little leads that are the sense leads that end in alligator clips here. And these go right to the terminals. And that disengages my contactor, as you can hear. And this engages it. And so the problem is that the current, the voltage drop through our current cables is sufficiently large that it approaches that across our resistor. Our resistor is only 0.1 ohms, and normally your cabling isn't a big percentage of that. In this case, it is. What we did with our first prototype 40 volt module last week was kind of blow it up by hooking up a big load to it using this scheme here. Actually, it was a 0.1 ohm load and a contactor. The drop we were measuring at the other end of the cables, and so when the contactor would engage, the voltage would drop to 2.5 volts, disengaging the contactor. That would cause the voltage to go up, re-engaging the contactor, which would cause the voltage to go down, disengaging the contactor, and it would sit there and cycle very hard at 400 or 500 amps until the battery blew up, basically. Interesting test. So what we have is sense wires that go right on the terminals, and then our bleed wires that go on the cell and are connected through the contactor, and that's what causes us to go down. We're at 2.87 volts right now, and we'll leave this on here for a while, and it will take quite a while to bleed that cell down to 2.6, at which point it will disengage. Now, at the point where it reaches 2.8 volts, it will re-engage, or 2.78 is what I've got it set at. And so it'll sit there and cycle until the cell is incapable of going up and reaching 2.78 volts. So it won't go below 2.6, but it'll keep going there until it can't climb above 2.78. And at that point, it'll be bottom balanced at 2.75 volts. And we'll go through all the cells and do this. And it could take some time, but it's somewhat automatic. And so we don't have to do a whole lot. So our resistor's warming up. Of course, we've got it on a piece of our aluminum decking, which gives us a little bit of heat sink. And it is warming up. And so that's what we've got going on there. We're going to bleed the whole pack until they're all 2.75 volts. And that will bottom balance our pack. So this little device on a big pack like this, we needed something to automate it anyway. And I'm glad we discovered this little voltage controller. And couple that with a contactor, 0.1 ohm resistor, and a DC power supply, 12 volt power supply, and we're good to go. We can hook it up to a cell, walk off and leave it, and come back and go to the next cell. If we do that 57 times, we should be right at 2.75 volts. So that's pretty much it for this week.
Well, at least for today, anyway.
Well, we're going to, you're going to shoot all week.
Yeah.
But it's all going to come out of this. How do you like our new Today Show set?
Yeah, do you like kind of got the Charlie
this,
Rose table?
Off of Oxygen and the Ladies Network.
Yeah, then they closed down a few sets and, you know, they shipped it off to
Today
us.
Show and so forth. Well, we're kind of crates and stuff. But you get the coffee table and the little coffee plant. Lee didn't really have his legs crossed like that gal in the middle in the morning, but
We would have put him in a you know,
in a skirt,
a blonde wig and some pink lipstick either.
Joe in the morning, or what is it?
Morning Joe.
Morning Joe, and so forth. So that's our coffee table and with the swallow backdrop.
We do.
A lot of guys like our green chroma key, but they don't want to give up the shop.
Oh,
And,
okay.
So I understand.
Yeah, that's right. It all happens out.
We're
all
not,
the magic
we're
happens
not
out
giving
here.
up anything either. Anyway, I'm Jack Rickard.
I'm Brian Noto.
We'll see you all next week.